Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're going to be taking a look at some Amber Amethist aggro. So, first of all, this run that you're about to see was my first time ever touching aggro. Season 1, Chapter 1, Lemon and Lime was a strong deck, and I did not try it once. Not even just Lemon and Lime, there were Amber Amethyst lists there, but just aggro in general has never been a deck that has been particularly appealing to me. It always gave me the air of like just YOLO, race, not a lot of decision making. Don't get me wrong, like I'll extend, because there is a skill element of course to running aggro, but by and large it's the least, especially in just Chapter 1 before we got Rise of the Floodborn, it's the least decision making, bar a couple of times where you might not quest just so that you can have full on game a couple of turns later and just play a little more reservedly. But by and large it's just race to game, and it was never a deck that really appealed to me. Obviously you learn a lot about it by playing against it a lot, like turn 1 Lido making a wish, turn 2 Simba was such a common play in Chapter 1, and we just hoped that as the Ruby Amethyst player we just hoped we had Rafiki. But yeah, it was never a deck that particularly appealed to me, and that is bad of me really, because I do say you should play all the decks so that you have a good, you have some experience on, what's strong about them, what's weak about them. And don't get me wrong, you can learn that just from playing against them. But I think it's always worth playing every deck to pilot it and get the feel for it yourself. And I never did that for aggro, because it was just never something that appealed to me. Rise of the Floodborn gave a lot of support to aggro and added a lot more elements of decision making. And I think made it a bit more of a skilled deck. But by and large, I still do think it's the most YOLO, just hope we can race to game. And there is decision making to be done, like you playing it wrong can cost you or win you the game. So I'm not going to go as far as to say it requires no skill. It does, but it is one of the simplest to run, I think, and it can just go under so many other decks. Really, aggro lives and dies by the meta. Steel is an atrocious matchup. Not unwinnable, but obviously atrocious. They have all the chip damage cards, Let the Storm Rage on, Strength for a Raging Fire, Tinkerbell, Grab Your Swords. So there's a lot that they can do to just shut us down. So Steel is a very bad matchup, but if you can miss Steel, or even just, okay, say you're in a 9-round tournament, if you're running to Steel once or twice and you lose to it, but every other matchup is good for you, then aggro can really go the distance. Ruby also has access to Teeth and Ambitions, which can be annoying, but to be honest, it's not that bad. And a couple of the games you're going to see me show, we get Teeth and Ambition quite quickly and still come out on top. So aggro is really strong, in my opinion, but again, just lives and dies by its matchups. But I wanted to try it out for the first time because I knew that it was the one deck that I'd never actually really given much of a go, and I went on a heck of a tear, getting an 18-3 record. I played 2 games off camera, won them both, and I was like, I should be recording this in case I want to turn it into content, and then proceeded to go 18-3. Disclaimer, didn't run into a lot of Steel decks over the course of those games. There is one game that I'm going to show you which is against Steel, and yeah, Steel can be a rough matchup. It's not unwinnable, but it can be really, really rough. But if you can dodge them and you have a really good Ruby Amethyst match, depending on your build, if you can be aggressive enough quickly, you can just win by the time they get to the Be Prepared, or at least be close enough that all it's going to take is for one character to stick, or a goat or something like that. So when I was deciding what deck I wanted to try, I just went through all of the top. I have an archive of top 8 deck lists. So I just went through in the last sort of month or so, looking at the aggro lists that had done well. I knew I wanted to go Amber Amethyst, and I came across 4. So the first one I'm going to show you is this one by Chan, and this was the Lorcana Play Network event. they came third. This is the deck that I ran, and this is the deck that you're going to see the games run with. But I also wanted to make a point of looking at a couple of others to think about other ways that you could do it. There's also this list here by Beyond, who is a name that's come up a few times in top 8 placements. So yeah, definitely a name that puts some respect on the name. And they're running a Stitch package and a Queen package in theirs. Now, I say all this having only tried the first list that I just showed you. This list right here, this is the only one I've tried so far, and it is the only one that features in these games. And in a future video, if there's enough interest, then I can do a video showing the other versions. But I want to make it clear, this is the only version I've tried. I haven't tried the other versions. However, just looking at this off the hat, having the Stitch and the Queen gives you a bit of a better mid-game in terms of you have some slightly higher statted creatures. Obviously, Stitch can quest big. You can extend with 2 or lower drops to be able to just keep drawing cards. And this build is running a lot of characters that fit that mold. Pinocchio, we've got the Hey, the Blue Fairies in here. And then, yeah, obviously we're running for the Queen and for the Stitch. So there's a lot that can help you extend this way. Got the World's Greatest Criminal Mind here, I think mostly to be an answer to Stout-Hearted Cinderella, but also deals with Maui and Maleficent, which are the most prominent things in format. And then, yeah, Friends on the other side. So this is another way of running it. From my experience of the deck, the version that I've run, I personally don't like the idea of dedicating your first few turns to playing Queens and Stitches, because I think a lot of the time this deck lives and dies by just needing to win or be far enough ahead by the turn 7 be prepared. And that is the measuring stick by which I'm judging a lot of this, because Ruby Amethyst at current is still the most popular deck. It is the best deck. So I think that's the measuring stick that we really need to place ourselves against. Obviously, I've talked about Steel not being a great matchup, but the most common thing that you're going to run into is the be prepared. Can we win by the be prepared? Now, this list by Beyond, I think, can go a little bit further into the game, getting to that be prepared and beyond point, because we've got the Queen, we've got Rockstar Stitch, we can extend to draw cards that way off of Adoring Fans. The Hey-Heys are going to be card retention. The Blue Fairies, if we play our Stitch and our Queen, is also drawing us cards. So a really good looking list. And again, I've not tried it, so I can't judge it too harshly, but I still feel like I would the reason I went with this list is because I prefer the idea of just racing as far ahead as I can before the be prepared, and hopefully I've already run one or be close enough that it's not going to take a lot for me to win. Whereas I feel like this version, if you're spending your first few turns doing the Stitch and Queen stuff, then you're not racing for lore. So by the time you get to turn 7 be prepared, you might just not be out in front enough in the lore race for you to consistently then be able to deal with Ruby Amethyst that now has access to its Tremaines, its Ursulas, its Elsas, all of that. So I personally, just at face value, thought to myself, I prefer the idea of this just most aggressive, just win before you get to that point. But it should be stated that looking at this list, I imagine it has a bit of a better mid-game than the list I played. There's also this version by Thurston from a No Limit event, and they are running a much bulkier version. They're running the just-in-times for a start to cheat out 5-cost characters, in which we've got Eudora, which is just so big and bulky and questing for 2, it's going to be hard to remove her, and gives you a better Steel matchup for sure. And then Goofy and Maximus just to be really bulky bodyguarders to protect our aggro characters. This is a build that I could see being really good and would like to try this version out. I would probably switch some counts, but I think there's probably a lot to be said for playing the big bulky bodyguarders, again, just in my experience from running the version that I did run. And then the last version to show you was by Massimiliano at event, I think it was The Goat was the name of the event, it was in Italy. And this is nearly identical to the first list, except it is -1 rabbit, -1 fox, -1 be our guest, +3 I'm stuck. I haven't tried the I'm Stuck, but from my testing of the first version, I quite like the idea of putting the I'm Stucks in. I think this is a really nice looking list. But let's go back to the one that I did play. So yeah, game plan just to win as quickly as possible. And there's a couple of key early game decisions that you need to make. Let's assume we're going first. The first one that we need to make, and assuming we hit both of them before or after Mulligan, is, well, before Mulligan is just as important because you need, like, when you see these games, my mulligans aren't great. We'll get to that point. But point I'm trying to make is that you need to decide between the turn one, are we going to go Cinderella to open us up to a turn 2 friends on the other side or be our guest? Or do we want to prioritise the turn 1 Lilo or Maleficent? So obviously prioritising the Cinderella means that our turn 2, we're not questing. And that is one tick of the clock closer to be prepared. But it means that we have easier access to extend our hand, especially if we've got the friends on the other side already in our opening hand. We also need to bear in mind that if we're going second, then if we don't choose to make the aggressive play with Lilo or Maleficent and we go for the Cinderella play, then again, that's just the clock is ticking even more towards the be prepared. Again, this is if you're against Ruby Amethyst. You may go down different lines of thought based on what you're up against. But that tends to be the first big decision. Do I go Cinderella because I want to prioritise being able to sing and get some more cards next turn? Or do I want to prioritise getting down Lilo or Maleficent? There's also Pascal here, but really you want it to be one of your 2 questers because like the first few turns of the game are some of the best turns to have a good chance that they won't have an answer necessarily. Again, it depends what they're playing. The mirror's a different conversation, but Ruby Amethyst mostly just wants to go 1-drop, snake, fox. So if they miss the 1-drop, or even the Kuzco, if they're not playing that for a turn 2 drop, then you get a couple of free turns essentially to just quest, and in that circumstance you always want to prioritize getting your questing as high as possible. While we're on that point about against Ruby Amethyst, the Befuddle is such an MVP because whether you go first or second, I mean it does matter, but if you go first, down goes Lilo, they go, okay, down goes Minnie, then you can turn to Befuddle to put the Mini back to their hand and then play either a Pascal or a Maleficent, and you know you're safe, unless they're running the Rush Queen of Hearts, but not a lot of Ruby Amethyst lists are running that. So it guarantees your safety. And if you go second, it can actually be even better. They go turn 1, 1-drop, you go turn 1 Lilo, they go turn 2 Quest and play the Snake. You go turn to Befuddle and then put down Maleficent, hopefully as another 1-drop or a Pascal. And then their turn 3, they normally resound to putting down a Maleficent, the one that draws, because they won't be able to get down the Fox. They can do that on turn 4, they can go 1-drop Fox, but yeah, Befuddle gives you such a good early tempo turn against Ruby Amethyst. The next big decision to make is turn 2, do we go Simba, do we go Snake, or do we go Pinocchio? Now, in a situation like I just highlighted, if you're against Ruby Amethyst and either they miss their 1-drop or 2-drop, or 2-drop, or you get Befuddle so you can offset them, then you always want to try and prioritize. Well, to be fair, if you're playing Befuddle turn 2, then you wouldn't have enough ink to play down Pinocchio. But again, if they miss an early character, then I would always prioritize turn 2 getting down Pinocchio, because depends what you're playing against. But against Ruby Amethyst, if they don't get down a character turns 1 or 2, then turn 3, they're not doing anything to you. So you would always prioritize getting down the Pinocchio and questing aggressively. Whereas if they do have a character that could take out your 1-drop Maleficent or Lilo, then the decision you need to make is, do we go Simba to go defensive and protect, or do we put down Snake which is also to protect, but it denies us a turn 3 insta quest with Lilo, so it puts our tempo back a little bit. So I think those are the two of the first really key decisions that decide the game. Turn 3, then your big question is, do we go Fox, which sometimes you just have to, depending on their field. You need and that's what Fox is so good in this deck, and it's what makes aggro so much better in my opinion, because it gives you more control over the board while protecting your characters. So yeah, questing up with Maleficent or questing Pinocchio on turn 3 after putting him down on turn 2, and then returning it with Fox, that's value. So yeah, Fox puts in a lot of work. So sometimes you're forced into that, but if you're not forced into that, it's either Arthur or Doc. Doc, of course, opens us up to turn 4 playing Goat or Rabbit without having to ink, and sometimes you don't want to ink, especially if you don't go down the early Cinderella friends on the other side route. because you want to have cards in your hand as well for when like the board wipe stuff does start coming, especially if you're against steel and you want to protect yourself a little bit against a turn 5 grab your swords. So yeah, sometimes you might want to just sit at 3 ink, so Doc's nice to be able to still get down your goat or your Merlin Rabbit. But turn 3, 9 times out of 10, in my opinion, is a get Arthur down. Again, we just want to win as quickly as possible, and if we're putting Arthur down on our turn 3, if we went first, then we know they are like 2 turns off of having anything that can deal with Arthur without challenging Arthur. And again, in a perfect world, turn 3 Arthur, and then turn 4 we are playing Snake or Fox somewhere in that turn to return the Arthur to our hand, or at least putting down a Bodyguard Simba. Again, depends on the board state. So these, I think, are some of your main early decisions that are going to really like affect the course of the game. But I don't want to talk too much more about it. I'd rather just show you the games. I've got 8 games to show you. The order that they're shown are not the order in which I played. I make mistakes, and I will call some of them out as we go. Again, this was my first time playing aggro. I was learning it like as I went. I think, however, in me watching back the games, because I've watched them back and hypercut it, so it should be no dead space, etc. I think more so than misplays, my biggest mistakes were a lot of my mulligans. And again, because I've mixed up the order of the games, I've tried to go from shortest games, like there's a couple of like just quick fire wins and then becomes longer. So you'll see inconsistency in my mulligans. First game, I might prioritize holding a befuddle, and then next game, I'll just throw it. So expect inconsistency, but also just, I was trying different things, trying to like work out what I felt were the better cards to be holding. So some of it was experimental, and there were mistakes were made in places, but overall I had a pretty good run. So let's take a look at some games. So game 1, we're against Ruby Amethyst. I also should have mentioned most of these games are against Ruby Amethyst. There are other decks that we face, but again, the point, that is the most popular deck. If that's all you're seeing on ladder or at your locals, then hopefully you'll take away a lot from this. It is the deck to beat, so I thought it was important to like highlight showcasing how it does against best deck in format. Plus, it was just in this run where I was recording my games, it was just what I was coming up against most, so there you go. So game 1 against Ruby Amethyst. Again, this is sped up and most of the dead space is cut. So like I just said, a lot of inconsistency in my mulligans, but I think this one's fine. I'm going first. I've got my turn 1 Lilo. I've got my turn, I always want, for turn 2, I always want a Simba or a Snake. I always like to look for a Fox. I should have kept the Befuddle, especially against Ruby Amethyst. But again, learning on the job, and these are all in a weird order, and I was experimenting with different things. We end up not getting punished for throwing away the Befuddle, but I do instant ink it. I didn't have a lot of options there. It was either that or the Simba or the Fox, and Befuddle's good, but Simba and Fox are hopefully going to put in a lot of work. So we put down Lilo. We're just trying to be aggressive as heck. That is the theme of this. Like, again, there's not a whole lot of decision making. They ink Fox and they do miss their 1-drop. So we ink our Befuddle, and because of this, I extend with the Pinocchio. Like I mentioned earlier, if they'd have had a character, then I'd have gone with Simba. But because they don't, let's just extend as much as we can. Again, they have missed their 1-drop. Maybe they're playing Kuzco, maybe they're not. But like I keep saying, Ruby Amethyst not hitting that character turns 1 or 2 against any deck is brutal. Against aggro, it's lethal. I don't know what's worse, lethal or brutal. We decided to ink the Simba here. Again, I'm still experimenting with what I want to do. I was probably thinking that I might want to use the Be Our Guest to find maybe a rabbit or something like that. They ink, they throw down a Maleficent to draw a card, but there's not a whole lot more they can do. So we just quest, and there you go, game. That, like, I was about to go even higher. They are 4 turns off of their Be Prepared. The game's just over. Like, down to them hitting their 1-drops would have definitely extended that a little, but I had other lines that I could have taken there. I had the Simba, so yeah, just a really nice, quick, efficient win. Next up, we're against Amber Ruby. Going first once again, it certainly helps. This time I throw back the Simba and the Lilo and the Maleficent. So yeah, in this game, I obviously have decided, okay, I've got my Cinderella and my friends, so let's keep both of them. I've got 3 1-drop aggro characters here, so I do keep the Maleficent as well. I've got a Snake, so yeah, this is pretty nice. You could make an argument to have held the Simba. We throw away the Be Our Guest, and I do change my mind. I end up deciding to be more aggro. I think because I'm reading already that they are Amber, Ruby, Mufasa, I know that they're going to try and aggro me as well, and they're going to have a much better mid-game. So even though I think I mulliganed with the idea that I was going to go Cinderella Friends, I changed my mind at the last minute. They ink a Eudora. We draw a Fox, ink one of these snakes, and I just try to be aggressive for the reasons that I literally just stated, because I know that they're going to try and be aggressive with me. They ink a Tigger, throw down a Mother Gothel. Obviously setting up for a Rapunzel, but also threatens the board. But if they do choose to challenge me, then I take her out too at present. We do sing the friends on the other side. We quest. And yeah, I do just decide to just send this back. That was like, have I inked? I haven't inked. Yeah, okay, that was a fine play then, because now I can do this. Yeah. So just look at all that lore on board. They've only just gone up to 3 ink. They throw down the Minnie Mouse. We just quest up with everything. Not all these games are going to be like the most exciting, and that's like kind of the point I was making at the beginning of the game. Like aggro, I don't think is the most exciting deck, and there are less decisions to be made. There are some, but yeah, it is very much like a linear path in a lot of situations. I'm from the well played because it's already game. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it was already game. So yeah, another quick victory again. We're showing you short to long. So another game here against Ruby Amethyst. We throw away the LeFous. I'm going first. So yeah, I like the idea of a turn 2 Pinocchio. I probably should have kept the Befuddle here, but I think I'm just aggressively looking for a 1-drop because I definitely don't want to miss that. I do opt to keep one of the friends on the other side in this situation though. Again, inconsistency to my mulligans during this game. We are able to find a 1-drop. I always much prefer the Maleficent. I'm not sure if Pascal ever hits the board in these games. They ink an Olaf and throw down their Mini. So hopefully this will be an opportunity to showcase just how good Befuddle is. Yeah, we just do it straight away, just return it back because that allows me to insta-quest, because otherwise I'd have lost my Maleficent. So now they do that. They do have another Mini that they're able to throw down, so fair enough. We ink one of these. We've got another Fox, and yeah, I opt to play the friends on the other side. Just quest there. Yeah, if I quest with Maleficent, that gives it up for free. Although I think there are games that you're going to see today where I do just give up the Maleficent or the Lilo and let them take it. But in this instance, they are able to find the Teeth and Ambitions, but they make what I think is a strange decision and take out the Pascal. Personally, I'd have taken out the Maleficent and then just gone into the Pascal and had board clear, but all right, we take those. We draw a mirror. Quest with the Maleficent, a mirror, a rabbit. Why did I say a mirror? What is going on? Throw away our LeFou and get down Pinocchio. Just trying to make the most of our ink to just be as aggressive as possible. Again, it's Ruby Amethyst. We're always on the prowl, waiting for that turn 7, be prepared, where things just get so much more complicated. They're not able to do a whole lot with their turn. They're only at 4 ink, about to go to 5, so we just throw down the Arthur Maleficent combo. Quest up with Snake, there's no danger behind it. They could have gone 1-drop into Fox, but then that takes them out too. We do quest, throw back the Maleficent with Arthur. And as you can see, we've got a Fox here to return this Arthur, keep them safe, and then throw the Maleficent straight back down. We quest here with the Fox, with the Snake. Again, if they want to take them out with a Fox of their own, then suits me. They sing friends on the other side to get some more cards. They do opt to make that play, sending their Mini back, taking out my stake, and then re-throwing the Mini on the field. We just quest up here. I'm really close to game, but they are right next to the Be Prepared turn. I throw down the Arthur, and I just hold the hand. I don't want to throw away... I don't need to be at 5 ink. I could have done that and then gone Pinocchio. But I already... I'm not sure if I have game. Well, nonetheless, if I go Pinocchio, I am basically all in on going into a Be Prepared. Yes, I would have had a rabbit in my hand, but I still don't like those odds. I'd still rather have something that I can play on the following turn after the Be Prepared. So we pass. They quest up with Mini. They are prepared for evasives, but don't need it against me, and they do have the Be Prepared. It was still worth throwing down the Arthur, just a threatened game. And here I'm able to extend with Pinocchio and LeFou. They're able to find a coup. Again, a Tremaine would have stopped me from having game, but they do not have it, and they just play out their hand to show me what they got. and we quick quest, and that's another game. So just going completely under Ruby Amethyst once again. Sorry, stop to breathe. Here is another Ruby Amethyst match. Don't worry, they're not all Ruby Amethyst, but hopefully some of you are finding some joy in seeing Ruby Amethyst take a pounding. In this instance, I do hold my Pascal. It's not my preferred one drop, but I want to make sure I've at least got one. Holding the Befuddle is really good here, especially against Ruby Amethyst. I like to have the Snake. I could have also gone the Simba route, as long as we've got something to protect our turn 1 character. But against Ruby Amethyst, I would prefer to have the character that hits for 3. So we throw everything else back because I want to find Fox in this match definitely, and I want to find a better 1-drop. We are able to find the Maleficent. It's them on the play though. So they ink, throw down a Maleficent of their own. So I'm not convinced this is aggro. It could be, but some Ruby Amethysts are just playing this as their 1-drop just for that extra early lore. So I'm not sure, but then they throw down the LeFou. So I'm like, okay, you are the other quite good aggro build in my opinion. We ink the LeFou, quest up. Yeah, I do think about this. I do consider the Simba, but I opt to put down the Snake to have something a bit more aggressive on field. They throw down the Arthur. Throw away our Pascal. Yeah, a bit more of a hesitancy in my decisions here, I think. That Befuddle is questionable. Definitely. But I just wanted to slow them down. They're ahead of me. They've already got Arthur on board. At this point, I'm like, this is just a race. I've got to go to Simba. Like, my hand is... I just need mine to be better, really. So I do opt to play the Befuddle just to rob them of that extra 2 lore. Because in my head, it can make all the difference. But they make a great play, questing, returning the LeFou. And this is exactly the loop that Ruby Amethyst bounce aggro wants. So they throw away their Fox, throw down 2 Maleficents, just being equally aggressive, which I totally respect. We play the Befuddle again, like same as I said before. I want to slow them down as much as possible. Yeah, we throw away the Goat here, which doesn't feel great, but I know I just need to race ahead. Pass over to them. They ink friends on the other side, throw down a second Arthur, and at this point I'm pretty sure the writing's on the wall. I'm watching this lore go up, and I know they've got a LeFou to come down, and yeah, 2 Arthurs on the board. So in this instance, they have just outraced me. I choose to challenge there. It wouldn't have made a difference. I could have quested, but it wouldn't have been, like, they definitely would have had game next turn if I hadn't taken out that character, along with Arthur's ability. So yeah, at this point I'm already pretty sure it's over, but we play again. I'm still experimenting with aggro, so I'm playing it through to try and learn as much as I can. They're able to do their little loop, continue it on a little bit more, readying the Arthur, questing that, return the LeFou up to 19, down he goes for the ready again, and this is game on their side. And yeah, like, if I'd have quested last turn with Simba, they'd have just had game there, and unfortunately I just don't have enough. So they are able to take this one away. So a demonstration of the LeFou Arthur version of Ruby Amethyst just being really, really strong, and in this instance it took us down. And they did go first. Going first does matter, but they still had a great hand, so they might have still come out on top, but who knows. Our next match, we are up against Amethyst Steel, but it might not go the way you might be thinking. But we're going first, which is always a fantastic start. Throw away the Dr. Pascal and the Cinderella. If I had the friends on the other side, I would keep the Cinderella, but I want to see especially because I've seen Steel, because I'm like, oh god, okay, I need to again, it's the same battle theory, just win as quick as possible. So I really always want to see Lilo, and Maleficent. We do keep a Fox. I keep the Arthur because I know that's really inherent to my race. I do still hold on to the Cinderella in case I find the friends on the other side, but I got Pascal here if worst comes to worst. We do find the Maleficent, and we find ourselves a Befuddle. So we throw away that Cinderella, throw down our Maleficent, biding her time, and pass over to them. They ink the Prince. So immediately I'm like, okay, you're the Tiana Bodyguard version. And that version isn't running a 4 count of grab your swords in most decks, I believe. So, but they tend to still run between 2 and 4 counts of Storm of Raging Fire and let the Storm rage on. So I'm not feeling particularly great about this straight away. It's the dreaded steal, but let's just try and race as well as we can. Here's an instance where I know I'm just giving up the Maleficent, but as far as I'm concerned, they're all going to go anyway. There's no point me sitting here and just having ready characters, just waiting for them to just wipe them all. So we opt to just give up the Maleficent and just prioritize racing as much as we can. Ink the Fox doesn't feel great, but I want to make this play here. I want to be able to befuddle this Pinocchio back to their hand and be able to put down Arthur next turn. And again, I know I'm on a clock as far as I'm concerned. So they ink another Prince. They do play a Strength of a Raging Fire, gets rid of our Pinocchio. So it feels bad, but that's all they're able to do. We just double throw down the leader. We could have gone Arthur there, but again, I just want to win as quickly as I can, and I think this probably lets me do it better. You could make an argument that Arthur was the better play there, to be fair. They do some bouncy things, befuddle one of our Lilos back. This time we do play the Arthur, and we do ink just to throw down our whole hand, because I am basically game over to grab your swords here, but I'm like, if you don't have it, then I'm so close to game next turn. They are able to find Smash, play Smash, ink a Goats, and put down a Pinocchio, so I'm not in a very good position here at all. I've got another Lilo I can throw down. I just quest these two, but I know I'm probably about to lose them both. I'm expecting a Fox to come down here, but a Fox does not come down. Instead, they trade with Snake and throw down an Arthur, put a Benja in their Inkwell, quest out Pinocchio, and they've got nothing to play. So I got two decisions here. I can use the Befuddle to either bounce their Pinocchio, which is what I do, or I could have bounced my Lilo and then put the Lilo back down. You could argue that was a better play, but I think I got the same result because I put down that Lilo. Okay, they still make this play Arthur into Lilo, the one that's exerted to take them out. And they still have a Pinocchio on board to just quest. So, no, I do think what I did was the better play. They finally get down the Tiana and a Pinocchio. We find Rabbit at the perfect time. Absolutely perfect time. We just quest up. I'm literally one from game. To be fair, that could have been any character, and this was still game. The draw didn't matter because they're not able to remove the rabbit. So it does suck for them. I don't know what counts they're playing of chip damage cards. They're definitely a more aggro version overall, but yeah, they're not able to find an answer to a rabbit, so we're able to take the dub. So not punished against Steel. Going straight on, we're up against Ruby Amber. Cam M. Yeah, I've just gone to check. This was the same person we fought a few games back, the Amber Ruby deck. I've decided to show the second game that we ran into them. I think they were actually 2 in a row. But yeah, we're going first again, which feels oh so good. We keep the Snake. Again, I always want a Snake or a Simba for my turn 2, but we see no 1-drop. I also opt to keep the Doc. I hadn't used Doc a lot, and I wanted to try him out. So we're able to find a Cinderella for a 1-drop, but no song to go with her. So not the strongest start. They ink a Surfer Stitch, pass over to us. We ink our Fox, which doesn't feel great. I probably should have just inked Doc there. But because they weren't able to play a character, we go with the LeFou. To be fair, we didn't have a Simba option, but we could have gone the Snake. But because they didn't get a character down, and there was a chance they had the Queen of Hearts, which would have punished me and would have taken out my Cinderella, but we just go for the aggro play again because once again we're against Amber Ruby. I just want to outrace them because they're very good at being aggro themselves. We throw away the Goat, which I'm not sure was the smartest ink there. Probably should have got... I don't like this play off the top of my head. I feel like I should have gone Doc. Maybe inked the Befuddle. I think I play the Befuddle here, actually. No, I don't. Yeah, that wasn't a strong turn. That could have been... I probably should have inked the Befuddle, played the Doc, and then that opened me up to Goat next turn. Or I could have even just put down Arthur that turn. Yeah, not a strong turn from me at all. But they ink, they throw down a Doc of their own. They don't quest with Simba. No point giving it away. We do throw down the Arthur now. We throw away this Cinderella into our Inkwell. yeah, I do this now, which I stand by, because if they want to go turn 4 Mufasa or 5-drop in general, then they're still leaving their dock exposed and they won't have a Simba on the board anymore. Unless they want to not play a 5-drop and instead go Simba and then another low-cost character. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. And they ink that Simba, they tilt the dock to throw down an early Maui to get this snake off the board, which I respect. Pass over to us, we find a Pascal. I think this is the first time I played Be Our Guest. Not sure what I took. Take the Pinocchio. Yeah, let's just race as quick as we can. Throw away that Pascal. Do our Arthur things. I am leaving my Arthur exposed here, and I know they're about to be taken out by this Maui. Opt for the Pinocchio instead to be a turn ahead in lore. If I had something in, to be fair, I'm at 5 ink. So, yeah, I think Pinocchio was probably still a better play there. But they're able to find the Tremaine, take away our Pinocchio, and we don't have a whole lot going on. We've just not found enough, unfortunately. We throw down Doc and LeFou to be just to extend in our how much we can quest next turn, and some defense against Lady Tremaine, which does come down. So we take away our LeFou, but they've got some quest on the board now. They've got some lore on the board now, catching up with us. We find a Be Our Guest. Be Our Guest was really underwhelming in all of these games, and I can see its purpose, but it's definitely something that I'm considering maybe a 2 count or even a cut. But yeah, Be Our Guest didn't feel great often, and to be honest, either did Doc, but I don't think I played the best to make the most of Doc's, just his ability to open you up to turn 4 Rabbit or Goat without having to ink. So I don't think I necessarily played Doc the best to get much value out of him. But Be Our Guest just never really felt great. But yeah, they're able to just take this game. Unfortunately, we had a couple of turns of like drawing not a lot to be able to respond. Would have been great to have had a Fox a turn or 2 sooner. But yeah, they are able to take that game. So they take one back. So I thought it was only fair to show that. Moving on to another Ruby Amethyst list. Again, like I said, there's a lot of Ruby Amethyst, but that is the deck to beat. So let's get it. Totally missed my mulligan there, but we throw away our Fox. We've got no, we throw away the Pascal. Yeah, the Foxes are more valuable. I'm still not sure Pascal hit the board. Maybe once he's hit the board, but we get our 1-drop. They throw away a Fidget, and they are able to find a 1-drop of their own. So in that vein, I think I protect. Yeah, because if I had another 1-drop, then I might have gone Befuddle and then played the 1-drop, but in this instance, no. And again, I can still upset them here. They go Teeth and Ambitions, and if they go Snake, then I could have just befuddled that back to their hand. So again, still slowing them down. I choose to just quest here. Ink the Befuddle. Wasn't sure what I was doing with it then. Yeah, we do opt to protect our Snake. Again, these bouncy characters are really strong to just help us protect our aggro characters, and this means that I can take out the mini without being taken out in return, as Snake would have. They ink and throw down a Stylish Surfer. Once again, throw away Rapunzel's Companion. Get down our Arthur. Get down our Maleficent. Let's win this game. Quest up with Fox. There's no danger behind. Unless they throw down a Crab, they're not taking me out with mini, but that would be a terrible decision on their part. They do throw down a Rabbit, just drawing. I'm guessing they're digging for the Be Prepared. We opt to sing here with a Fox. Sometimes you want to count how close you are to game and see if questing there would have mattered. I'm not sure if I did or not, to be honest. I'd like to think I did. Again, this is all hypercut, so maybe I did a quick math check there, but do as I say, not as I do. That is my rule of villainy. Can't talk. Ever. I can never talk. You all know this. Words are hard. That's one of the main mottos of the channel now. Not just you love to see it. Anyway, we throw away Doc, throw down our Pinocchio, just make the most of the ink that we've got available. They're still a couple of turns away from being able to play Be Prepared. We are giving up the Maleficent there, but that's fine. They challenge him with Rabbit, ink a mini, and throw down a Goat of their own. Pass back into us. I know that they still don't have access to Be Prepared next turn, so let's just extend as much as we can. Yes, I'm leaving my Fox vulnerable here. I do opt to draw some more cards. I could have taken out their Rabbit. Would have been reasonable. But we just aggro. And again, I knew I had nothing to potentially play another 1-drop if I found any off the friends on the other side. So we're able to get so incredibly close to game. They do some challenging. They quest up. but I'm pretty sure that's it. There we go, writing's on the wall, and they concede again. So just once again, right under Ruby Amethyst. But yeah, I don't want to go on too much longer because the video is looking already to be longer than I wanted it to. But yeah, aggro really strong. I didn't get to show you many games against Steel. Let me know if you want me to come. I'll put a poll in the, I'll do a poll soon, like, to ask people what decks they want to see before the end of season, because we're only a couple of weeks away. But yeah, if you want to see me try a different version of aggro, actually for content, then let me know. But yeah, this deck can live and die by Steel, but it goes under a lot of Ruby Amethyst lists, and yeah, it can just really cheat out wins. And it's so much, like, the games end so much quicker, so it's also good, like, against fatigue. If you're going to tournaments and you're worried about the whole, like, because I haven't been to a lot of Lorcana tournaments, but the ones I have been to are a good reflection of this. And I remember from my Yu-Gi-Oh days, just finishing 2 or 3 games and then literally having 2 minutes before you've got to go straight into another one, not having a chance to eat, go outside, get some air, do any things humans need to do, and it can just cause stress. If that's something that you're worried about, play aggro, because you'll win or lose quickly most of the time, and then hopefully, like, in a 50-minute round, I think it's more than feasible for you to finish with half an hour, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour left of your round to be able to, like, get a breather. So if tournament fatigue is something that you're concerned about, I would highly recommend aggro. But yeah, really like this list. I feel like the BR guests and the docs were underwhelming, but I feel like I just didn't play well enough with Doc to fully utilize him. So I wouldn't cut the docs, but I would be tempted to go down to a lower count of BR guest. I am intrigued by the I'm stuck. I feel like that would have helped in a lot of games. So I'm interested in trying that, and I think if I was going to make more significant changes, like if I wanted to go towards a different build, I would lean more towards the Bodyguard build as opposed to running like the Stitch and the Queens and stuff like that. Just my personal preference. Where the cuts come from, if I was going Bodyguarders, then yeah, I'd probably still keep the Doc. I wouldn't run the Just-in-Times. I'd potentially lose the Cinderellas, the Ballroom Sensation. She can be really strong, but I don't know. Maybe even the Pascals, and you just dig that bit more aggressive. I wouldn't cut the Pascals and the Cinderellas because you want a healthy amount of 1-drops. But maybe the Pascals or the Cinderellas to go to a lower BR guest count. LeFou could also be Sleepy. That is another decision. The difference being, obviously, with Sleepy, you do leave yourself exposed for a turn, him having to come in exerted, which, if you put him down turn 2, often isn't going to mean much. It's often going to be fine because they won't always have something that can deal with him, and even if they do, you're doing 2 damage in return, and you've got 3 willpower, so it's not as easy for them to get over him. LeFou's a little bit safer. Even later on in the game, you can put him down and just to extend. So it's preference, really, but that could be Sleepy. But I like the idea of the I'm Stucks. But if I wanted to go for a different build significantly, it would probably be the Bodyguard version, and we'd find a lower count of probably Pascals, BR guests. I wouldn't go down to a lower Fox count. I think the Foxes are too important. Maybe down to a 3 Goats is reasonable, even though Goat came in clutch quite a few times. Maybe even cut the BR guests completely. I'm not sure, but that is going to be it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please do subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit the like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.